Hello, this is Lok. This video is a walkthrough of the Practisim Designer editor. So when you first launch the tool from Steam, you will see a What's New window to show you all the new updates that's been happening. Usually I push out weekly updates, sometimes once every 2 weeks. All depends on what kind of new features or bug fixes that were made. The panel on the right allows you to create an account and log in. And the reason you want to log in is so that you can access the Stage Central repository of stages, where people can upload stages, preview stages, download them from other people in the community. So if you don't have an account, go ahead and log in. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and use the tool. So click OK, and you'll be presented with the basic view. So this is how the editor looks like. Let me just give you a quick guide. The top bar is your main menu bar, right? You can move your mouse over here and click on it and see all the other options, just like any other application on Windows or Mac. And then what you're looking at here is this display shows you that you're in editing mode. There are multiple modes in this tool. You have the edit mode, activation mode, grouping mode, measure, fault lines, dry fire simulation. So a quick preview. Edit mode allows you to edit your stage design. Activation allows you to hook activatable objects to activators. So for instance, if you want to hook a popper to a swinger, where if you hit a popper, you activate the swinger, you can do that in this interface, this mode. Grouping mode allows you to group multiple objects and save them as a group. The reason why you want to do a group is so that if you clone the group, you clone every single object within the group instead of just doing it individually. Measurement allows you to drop rulers onto the stage and measure distances from one place to another. Fault lines allow you to draw fault lines on the ground. Dry fire allows you to run that stage that you've designed in dry fire mode, which is pretty advanced, but you should watch that tutorial on how to do that. You can also use laser trainers. If you have like a laser trainer with a projector system, you can also use this software with that. And simulation mode allows you to play the stage that you designed just like a normal FPS game like Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, which is pretty fun. It's great to test out your stage. So these are different modes. Right now we're in editing mode, and the panels here is the props in the design. So this will list down all the props you have in your stage design. You can click on them and go directly to that prop. You have a stage stats panel here that shows you how many paper targets, how many steel, how many no shoots, how many points, and so forth. A quick view. You have a pose icon. A pose icon tells you whether you are flying, you're walking, you're crouched, or you're prone. Very few people use this, so you can hide it. There's an X here that allows you to close that window if you don't like that panel. Over here you have your shortcut bar, a very handy tool where you can drag and drop props from the prop system onto the shortcut bar for frequently used props. The bar at the bottom here tells you what file you're working on right now, what you're currently highlighting, what you're currently selecting, and some additional information like transformation coordinates and stuff like that, your login ID, and then whether the stage has been saved or not. The tool has an auto save capability, which will allow you to save the file into a save file, just in case your machine crashes, your PC crashes for some reason, or the application crashes for some reason. You can recover it. This panel here is the most useful one, which basically shows you all the help, all the controls that are available to you in the edit mode, or depending on your mode. So you can access main menu if you hit escape. You can enter the prop menu if you hit the tilde and enter key. Movement is WASD. So I can go through each of this individually. I'll try to cover it in this editor walkthrough, but it's a lot of things here. So for instance, if you want to go to the main menu, you just hit escape. So if you hit escape, this is your main menu, right? Right in the middle here is a quick menu, and the quick menu comes preloaded with some basic capabilities, but you can customize this. So this is handy because it's called quick menu for a reason, because there's a number up here on the left. It allows you to just click that number to do certain things. Let's say for instance, if I want to go to settings, I can just either click here with my mouse or just press 8 and you go into settings pretty quickly. And so for you, once you get used to the tool, all these quick menu systems allows you to move around the tool very quickly and easily. You can customize what these buttons are by just clicking on this pen icon, and you can select what menu options you want. Cameras, or if you want to do put it back to settings, you can do that on your own. So in the main menu, There are a few options here. So you have your file where we can load stage, save your stage. You can export the stage to a different system. Currently we only support one system so far, which is the VR practical shooting app on the Quest 2 and 3. In the future, hopefully we can support other formats as well. Import GLB is basically you can import custom 3D models. Like let's say we have a repository of over 1,000 props. But if you have your own that you've built in Blender or any 3D application, you can import them, but you must use the GLB format. This allows you to do that. You can also import group or props. So basically you can drop a few props on the stage and group them up, and you can save them as a group, and in the future for other future designs you can just quickly import them into your tool, into your stage design. Pretty handy thing here. You can clear stage here. You can also recover if your application crashes for some reason. Here you can access settings. Here you can provide feedback to the tool, and here you can quit the application. In edit, you can edit a few things. You can edit the bay or the configuration of this bay. There will be additional tutorials for each of this because it has a lot of different things you can do here. You can also edit the environment. Let's say I don't want clouds, I want it to be raining, or I want it to be snow, or just want it to be plain white. You can change the time of day all from within this environment. You can also set your cameras, create new cameras, move the cameras around, change the aspect ratio, whatever you want. All camera management comes under this item. And you can create waypoints. So for dry fire simulation, you can create waypoints so that during dry fire your individual person will move from one waypoint to another. And that's how you can also create animations, video animations if you want to. This is where you manage your waypoints. This option here called stage briefing is where you would use to create your written stage briefings, select which template you want, export them to PDF, and so forth. That's also another very extensive system which you will cover in a different tutorial. Under tools, you can access Stage Central from here, or you can also manage your account. If you want to create a new account, delete them, change your password, whatever you want to, you can do it from here. Here I talked about this again, modes, right, to show you what you can do from here. And then in window you can select and enable or disable those panels that you have on screen. So for instance, if I go back here, these are the panels, right? I can go here and say turn off stage stats, for instance. I don't want to see that, so that I don't want the post icon. But if I want to bring them back, I can just go up here and just re-enable them again. So that's the main menu. In the main UI, these panels and this shortcut bar, there are three different I would say modes of this UI. This is the mode where everything is turned on, and if you prefer to hide all these panels because you're kind of intermediate user, you know how to use the system, or if you're an advanced user, I just need my shortcut icon, I want to be able to see everything on screen, you can use the tab key to cycle through the different modes. So if I hit tab once, you see this is more like an intermediate mode. And then hit tab again, hide everything, just go full screen, right? And then just tab again to bring it back. So you're basically cycling between these three different modes. I personally like this mode, so I can see the shortcut bar and I just hide all those panels because I don't really need some of those things. There are two primary ways of you moving around your stage design. By default, it is called the free mouse mode. The free mouse mode means that your mouse is free to select and click on things around you. In order to move around, if you look up here, the movement keys are WASD. So W for forward, S for back, A for strafe left, and D for strafe right. If you have played Counter-Strike or any first-person video game, this is very natural to you. You know how to use this, right? So WASD allows you to move around like this. But if you want to move what you're looking at, in free mouse mode, if you hold down the right mouse button and move your mouse, you can then start looking around, just like you're moving your head around to look at stages. So together with the combination of the WASD key and the right mouse free mouse look method, you can just easily strafe around and move around like this, walk around for instance. Okay, you can do that. Spacebar allows you to fly up and look down and do whatever you want from this, and Alt allows you to go back down to ground level. So you can go up high, move around, look at your stage from this corner for instance, come down here and look at your stage from the side, whatever you want, and this allows that flexibility. Another capability is FPS mode, or first person view, and that's more like a video game. So you can switch between these two modes by using Control F1. So if I hit Control F1, now the reticle is changed to red, and red is FPS mode. FPS is just like a first-person game. You don't need to hold right-click anymore. When you move your mouse, it moves to whatever you're looking at, like this. And then you can use in combination with WASD as well. Some people prefer this mode. I prefer the free mouse mode, but this tool was originally built with the FPS mode. But I thought that the free mouse mode is much more common to normal application users. So I hit Ctrl F1 to go back to free mouse mode. So now my mouse is free. I can move around by holding the right mouse button. Okay, so now that you know how to move around, navigate around the tool, how do you create your design? So you want access to a library of props. And in order to do that, you can enter the prop menu by hitting the tilde button or the enter key. Some non-US keyboards don't have the tilde key, and so you will probably use the enter key, or you can change all these key bindings in settings as well. So if you hit tilde, you have access to your prop menu. And right now, if you have anything in your personal inventory, it will default to the personal inventory category. But if not, it will default to USPSA. So these are all the props that are in the USPSA category. You see that this is a full target, this is a full target shot, this is a no shoot on stand. These are all the hard covers, these are all the different props, swingers, and interesting types of targets here that we have. There's also IPSC category. There is the IDPA category, PCSL, ISMOC for airsoft, 3-gun, I-core, and so on and so forth. And then you have things like vision barriers, which are essentially your walls, barrels, sandbags, whatever you need as a vision barrier. Stage markers for you to mark like access on the ground, your shooting box, your activators, fault lines, and so forth. Steel targets are all the steel poppers, plates, plate racks, Texas stars, anything like steel will be available here. Moving props, this also requires an extensive walkthrough, which I will post later on how to create your custom moving props. We have support structures here, like for instance target stands like bullet traps for putting paper targets. We have pallets, we have structures like this, like steps and so forth. Props, which is the biggest category, has all the different props like a shooter, kneeling, standing. You have an activator button, you have cars, you have guns, you have buildings, you have chests, and all kinds of different types of interesting and cool props that you probably see. I mean, probably don't see some of these things in your, like a tank for instance, in your design, but who knows, right? Somebody might want to do that. So this is under props, and then your berms and grounds. You have custom berms and grounds that you can add on to your stage design if you don't like the default ones. Miscellaneous has interesting targets and props that I couldn't find a category to put under. And so some photorealistic rocks here. These are CMA targets and so forth. Or you can select all, which will show you all the 1000 props that we have in the system. Now if you want to add some of these props to your personal inventory, this checkbox on the top right of every icon allows you to do that. So if you scroll down to my personal inventory, you see that I have a few things here. Let's say if I want to add a Texas star, let's go to steel targets and just choose Texas star and just click on that. So anytime I can start the tool and all these are available to me. So for instance, if you are designing stages for a club and you have a set of targets and you've identified them in your tool, you can add them to your personal inventory so that every time you start a tool, you have access to all the stuff that you have in your club, right? And that way you can just quickly get to it instead of going to all and start scrolling through and looking for targets here. And so this is also a pretty handy one. If you don't know where a certain prop or target is, you can type and use the search field. So for instance, if I want to look for maybe an Irish rack, so I just type IRISH and you see that now the system has 3 different Irish racks here. Or if I'm looking for maybe a stool, right, and then you have STOO, and then now you have very quick way of getting to the props that you want. So that's the prop menu. And if you're interested and if you use that very often, you can click and drag them onto your shortcut bar by doing this. So just click and drag, and now I have the stool in my shortcut bar, and you would be persistent. So how do you drop things on your design? So if you go back to the prop menu, let's say if I go over to IPSC and I want to drop this full target down, I can click on it and it will appear on the system here and then tied to my mouse. So I can position this anywhere I want. So there are a few ways of doing this. You can move your mouse and position it there. And if you want to rotate this prop before placing it down, if you look down here on this bottom panel here, that shows you the key shortcut keys to manipulate the rotational axis, the pitch, the yaw, and so forth for this tool. So for instance, if I want to rotate it in place, I can use the Q and E keys, right, to rotate it. This is very slow. Well, it's more precise, but it's slow. But if you want to make it go faster, you hold on your Shift key and hit the Q or E keys. Right? You can rotate it to wherever you want and place it down. If I want to tilt it, I can use Z and X. So X tilts this way, Z tilts this way. And if I want to tilt it forward, I can use the F or R keys. So F tilts it forward, R tilts it back. And if I want to raise it or lower it, I use T or use G. So for instance, if I want to make this a short target, I can just pull it below the ground like this. Maybe rotate it a little bit. And then tilt it backwards. You know, I could do that if you want to, and then place it on the ground. There you go, you have your first target. Or you can use the shortcut bar, right? So I have this bound to 1. I can click on this and you'll drop a USPSA target. Or I can just hit 1 on the keyboard and you just drop. So I can very quickly just add targets like this. Maybe a no shoot in front of it, maybe a wall for just here somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, however you want to manipulate this. And every target has a target number associated to it. If you want to calculate target numbers, the system auto calculates for you. You can also turn it off in settings. So if you hit escape, you go over to settings, you can say auto target numbers. Let's say I want to manually number them. I don't want the system to automatically calculate for me. I can just turn this off and hit done. So now if I drop another target in between here, this would be T1, this would be T1, because it doesn't auto calculate for you. But if you prefer the system to do it, you can either turn it on in settings or you hit N on the keyboard to calculate target numbers. It will calculate targets from left to right. So in this case, if you look at this properly, if I go down to the ground, you see that this will be T1, that will be T2, this will be T3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So if I hit N and then just hit yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there we go, just as expected. If I move this over here, this is essentially not T5 anymore, right? This would probably be T8 because it's not on automatic. You have to manually trigger it. There we go. You can also manually change this. So if you highlight certain prop, you have a small menu here that tells you what you can do with it. In this case, in the wall case, I can change the color, I can change the size, I can export this prop, and I can also add it to my personal inventory. So the wall currently is green. Okay, if you hit K, you see now you have this color picker system that allows you to change the color of whatever props that are colorable, if you like. So I can quickly click on this color to change it, or this color. These are all the quick buttons. Or you can use any of these systems, RGB, HSV, or even move around this color wheel to select what color you want. So let's say I want to make the wall, right, baby blue, like that. And we also have this system called default colors. So default colors are colors that you set so that whenever in the future you drop any of these items, it will automatically adopt that color. If you look at this system right now, the fault lines are always yellow, the walls are always green, steel is white, and text is green. That's why this text is always green. If I want to change the default to, let's say, walls are always black, I can choose this color, click and drag this color and drop it into walls. And when I click on OK, in the future, if I drop any walls, it will all be black. To delete this wall, I can just highlight it and hit delete in the keyboard, and you can delete items automatically. So for instance, in this target, I can, in the USPSA target, I can change the text. Instead of using T3, I can change it to shoot me, right? And then this target here will adopt this word, shoot me, on top. I can pick the color for text. If I click on M here, I want it to be pink, for instance. I can do that, and I can then, once I've done this, I can then export this prop or add it to my inventory. So if I hit Ctrl H to add it to my inventory, now if I go over to my personal inventory, you see that I have a prop that has this pink word called shoot me. I can click on this and drop it on the system, and now it'll always be available to me. You can also hide the target number. So for instance, if you have multiple targets, these target numbers could be very complicated. You can show and hide target numbers by doing Shift Y. So for instance, you can highlight it and hit Y to hide it individually, or if you want to do everything, you just do Shift Y to hide all, Shift Y to show all. You can do that too. It makes it more clean, right? So if you go down the list here, you have an ability to lock a prop as well. So for instance, if I'm sure that the wall is going to be here, I just highlight the wall and hit L. You see a lock icon. Now I can't select this item at all. I cannot select the wall, I cannot change the color, I can't do anything to it, so that you would protect that prop from being disrupted when you're in the midst of editing it. Select it and hit L again to unlock, and then you can now move it and color it. You can do that for any props or group of props. There is a undo system as well, so if I drop another, let's say drop a steel popper here and I don't want it, I can just hit Ctrl Z and it goes back to your, very similar to any Windows application that you've ever used. You can also teleport. Let's say if you have a stage design that's large and I want to quickly jump from here to there, instead of floating over here and moving like this, right, I can just hit J, and then down there's this transparent blue icon and say I want to teleport over here, and immediately you go there. And so there's a very quick way for you to like just move around the tool. You can also switch target types. This is a very interesting feature. Let's say, let me just delete this step 6. So now all the targets are USPSA targets. Let's say I prefer to use IPSC targets. So you just hit B and you can choose which one you want to switch to. In this case, I want to switch all the props to IPSC and hit convert. Yes, and now all your targets become IPSC. And then the next capability here is flip and mirror stage. So flip is very interesting. So you have a, let's say you have a stage like this. Trigger flip by hitting P. What will happen is it will flip the stage horizontally. So if I hit P, you see now it has flipped across, and you flip back again. So this is a very handy way. If you're designing a stage and you think, I think it should be flipped over the other side, you just hit P and it will automatically flip for you. Very powerful feature as well. The other one is if you're designing a stage that is mirrored. So for instance, your targets from one side will look exactly the same as targets on the other side. So all you have to do is to create one half of the stage and then use the Control P feature, which is the mirror stage. Mirror stage allows you to set a midpoint. So for instance, if I set a midpoint here, then you can imagine that all these targets on the left would then be mirrored to the right. So if I set it here and click, now you see that you have the exact same number of targets in the correct orientation, flipped over and mirrored over to the other side. The other thing you can do is also replace prop. So if I select this, if I hit O, I can replace it with maybe a no shoot, for instance, now that the target is switched to a no shoot, right? You can do that as well. We also have a camera system here that allows you to place cameras for use in your written stage briefing. And so to do that is you float around, you move around to a place that you want, and you hit backspace and you give your camera a name, and let's call it first. You've created a camera. If you go over to escape and hit the cameras, now you'll be able to see all the different cameras here. You can manage the cameras from here. We will cover this in a different tutorial. Another powerful feature is quick align. So let's say for instance, if I put 3 poppers here, right? I put 1, 2, and then I put 3 here, and I'm like, okay, I want this to be aligned in a row, right? And instead of just moving and figuring out if I can place it correctly, there is a quick align feature using the comma key. So what you do is you select by you hold on shift and you select the first object, it turns blue, and continue selecting the object by clicking on whatever you want to select. And then when you're done, you hit comma, it will automatically align it. So all these are selected right now. In order to unselect, you do shift click on anywhere on the ground and you unselect them. And you can also align vertically. The system will look at how the props are aligned and find the best alignment method. So for instance, if I had these 3 targets here and they all align this way and I want it to align in a row, I can select click on this one and then hit comma. It will all align it for me vertically. So in the tool we have, as part of the paper target repository, we have paper targets called modifiers. Modifiers are things like no shoots and hardcovers. So for instance, if I want to make this a tuxedo, I can go over to IPSC and look for the tuxedo modifier and then drop it down and then just place it on the target like this. So once it's placed, this target is now automatically grouped with the modifier, and now when you move it around, this target is a tuxedo target. And you can do this with all the other types of modifiers as well. Let's say if I want to make a half target, bottom target, I can just drop it off here, and now that target looks like that. There's also a clone feature, and so for instance, if I already made one of these groups, I can save it as a group, I can import it as a group, I can also immediately clone it. So I can use the middle mouse button. If you click on the middle mouse button, it will clone this target, and you can place them anywhere you want. And so very quickly I can build like 3 tuxedo targets in a row like this by cloning. So that's how you set modifiers. And then once you've set your group, you can very easily add it to your inventory by hitting Ctrl H. So now if you go over to your personal inventory, you see that now I have the tuxedo IPSC target. It's very powerful and allows you to create your own personal designs that you use frequently. So that's the main primary editor. Let me walk you through the settings that you can do. So if you hit escape and go to settings, or you can go up to here and hit settings, you see a few things that you can do here. If you find that the interface is very sensitive, your mouse is super sensitive, maybe you have a high DPI mouse, you can change the sensitivity here by increasing the sensitivity or maybe decreasing it, depending on how you like. My mouse is very highly sensitive, so I usually use 1. Max FPS and graphics quality in window mode, it's all the advanced features for you to tune how performant and how well the tool runs in your current system. If you do not have a powerful system, you can find that the tool can be very laggy. It automatically is on auto. It will figure out what kind of capability your device has and switch this. But if you want more control, you can obviously just select maybe a low graphics quality or medium graphics quality, or however you like, or you even change your window mode or your resolution as well. I always use it on auto because the system is pretty intelligent at figuring out what mode to set for your graphics capabilities. Your field of view is how much you can see from the screen. It's very similar to a lens, like you have a fisheye lens. If you increase the field of view, if you look at the background, it's more fisheye. You can see more towards the side, but then it looks much tinier and more warped, if you like. 90 is usually the standard, so it's up to you however you want to do this. And over on this side, you can invert your y-axis for those of you who prefer to invert your mouse. So normally up is up, down is down. Some people prefer to invert this where up is down and down is up. Don't ask me why, but some people like that. You can also have this snap to grip feature where you can snap the props to the grid on the floor. And so you can turn this on if you like. And you can also edit your key bindings. So you can change your key bindings for a lot of things within the tool. There are some things that you can't change, but most of it you can change. Like if I want the delete key to be something else, or if I want my select prop menu to be instead of tilde some other key in your keyboard, you can do that as well. You can set your audio volume here. And then these are a bunch of miscellaneous settings, so you can turn on and off auto target numbers. There is a IPSC official abbreviation for certain targets. So for instance, things like IP for poppers, IT for targets, you can turn this on and off. If you're USPSA, you probably don't use this. You can set how long the autosave system works. So in my case here, every minute it autosaves. You can also turn this on to always face the target text towards you. Right now it's turned off, right? So for instance, if I turn on all the target text, so you can see if I turn around, the target text is always facing this way, right? Always facing uprange. And so if I go over the settings and I turn this on, now you see the target text will always follow wherever I go. So at any time you can always see what target number that is. I don't usually use that, so I turn it off. Ambient sounds are basically, there's a background sound, very subtle sound that plays because you don't want to be like, I don't know, doing editing and doing work in a very quiet place. Sometimes very unnerving, so I usually turn this on. This is free mouse mode, right? Turn this off to be FPS mode, similar to Control F1. You can also suppress lock highlight. So for instance, if I enable this by if I just turn this off, right? When I lock certain things, you see that this thing is highlighted with red. So I know immediately what are the objects that are locked in the system. Sometimes this can be very distracting, so some users have said, hey, is there a way to just don't highlight all lock objects red? So go over to here, go to settings and just turn it on, and now you see the highlight is gone. And the last item is auto group modifier. This is on by default. When you place a tuxedo on a paper target, it will automatically group that target into a new one that you can clone, you can save, you can do whatever you want. If you prefer not to auto group, you can turn this off. And the last one is if you are interested in supporting us, this tool will always be free. You don't make any money from this, but if you prefer to donate or show your appreciation for building this tool, just click on this and you open your browser to a Patreon page where you can support us. So that's in settings. So that's the primary editor. There are a lot more other stuff. The next few videos will cover all these individual elements within the tool. So thanks for watching.